Hello and welcome once again to episode 137 of Code Completion. We're a group of iOS developers and educators hoping to share what we love most about development, Apple technology, and completing your code. My name is Dimitri, and I'll be your host once again for this episode, and I'm joined today by my fellow completionist, Spencer.
Hey there.
So it's been a little bit of a while, but we have some new Swift evolution updates. The first of which is init accessors, and it just seems to be something to kind of normalize the magic behind property wrappers. So plus one for me.
Yeah, super cool. I wanted to ask you. So it looks really good. There's one example that I've run into recently on a personal app with bindings where you have to do like self underscore whatever equals whatever. So would this make it so you can just say self dot whatever equals whatever instead of using the underscore to get the go to the wrapped value?
I
Or is
believe
this
so. It
okay?
allows the wrapper to have a bit more control over like how that's all hooked together. So
Hmm.
that way the wrapper can do a little bit more when it needs to. Um,
Cool.
I'm not a fan of like all the new vocabulary that's kind of entering with the accesses and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It just makes it a tad more complicated. But the cynic in me is thankful that I'll get to keep my job as a result of that. So
Experience helps, right?
experience always helps. I once joked, not really joked, but really like posited and thought about how uh, computing becoming more and more complex and more abstracted will like hinder the next generation in their ability to become software developers. Um, and I think to an extent that has really played out with the amount of people who don't use computers as their main computing device. In fact, they don't even understand how basics, what we think about basics of
Yeah.
computers, like Windows, files, folder, how any of that comes together. And that really hurts when you do want to learn programming because now you're like set back so much with compared to everything else. So needlessly to say, like I'm I look at this increased complexity as something that will, in fact, hinder the next generation of programmers who are coming to Swift in one way or another. Though, thankfully, Swift has this idea of like progressive disclosure that kind of keeps
Mhm.
it in check. Like, if you're writing
That's
your
fair.
first Swift program, you're not needing to think about writing a property wrapper. If you're curious about writing a property wrapper, you're going to learn about these things. So that's as long as there is good documentation for that, which thankfully Swift, the project, has excellent documentation. Then that's going to like make things work out in the end. But I do continuously worry, like now that we have a brand new platform that just completely breaks most computing paradigms,
Yeah.
like how much of this knowledge are you going to need to have to like know how to code for it, right? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can make a little Swift UI thing, but it doesn't do anything. So you need to like interact with the file system, and then oh shoot, what's a user? What's this directory? What's that directory? Like it's you're just thrown into the depths, and you have
Yeah.
the big trombone playing as you realize you're kind of out of your depths, kind of figuring out how all that works.
Yeah. I partially blame Google for the inception of the Chromebook, although if Apple would have instead taken the education spot with iPads, it probably would have been the same result. So, uh,
Yeah,
I don't know. I had computers when I was growing up, and actually, I think so did all of my younger siblings. But um, yeah, I mean, kids these days just get a Chromebook, and they probably don't know what files and folders are for the most part. That's so weird, dude.
I mean, if not a Chromebook, it's an iPad, and they
Hmm.
potentially don't even know that YouTube is a website, right? That it's a
Oh my
service.
gosh.
It's just an app that's on
It's an
there, and you
app.
just that's the device for YouTube kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting being a parent in these times. I'm probably going to be teaching my kids like on computers and have
Yeah.
them like learn about programming at a very early age, assuming they're interested in it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that's up to me to make it interesting, right? And so that's gonna be interesting. Um, but What else is interesting is that there is a new proposal to remove actor isolation interference caused by property wrappers, because we're on the property wrapper bandwagon. Why not go ahead and improve some things? And it basically is making sure that you can go ahead and write code that makes more sense. That's my high level summary of what this means to us programmers. You're writing SwiftUI code and it's getting in your way for some reason. This would kind of fix that by saying like, hey, the Swift concurrency stuff, it plays nicely with the Swift UI stuff, which is all main actor. So
Yeah. I thought this was really cool. Just there's a section in this proposal that says, "Does this cause actual problems?" And it says, "There are this tweet, this blog post, this entire Swift forums thread." So obviously, this is a fairly widespread problem. So it's cool to see something being done to fix it.
yeah. That said, I don't believe this will do anything until Swift 6. So
Right.
this
Yeah.
is like a breaking change to the language. They acknowledge that. They did some research on
Hmm.
existing like third party libraries that go ahead and use property wrappers heavily and see will this impact them. And it turns out no, it will not. And this can kind of make things just better in the future, which again, thumbs up for me.
Yep. Definitely.
In completely other news, there was a surprise update this morning, I think, with iOS 16.5.1. And it fixes the infamous camera adapter dongle that was not working with 16.5.0. So if that was you that was impacted by that, you're good now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. There's also an update to WebKit. The impact says that it was processing maliciously crafted web content that may lead to arbitrary code execution. Wow, I just call it ACE because I watch Zelda speedrunning. Um, so that's cool too.
I mean, if anything, going back to our previous conversation, we have thanks to Zelda for bringing the community back to understand how memory management works, right?
Yeah, come on, man. Watching the pointers go. Come on, got to get the right angle to get to the right pointer.
It's an
Yeah.
excellent analogy if you think about it.
That's
By that,
awesome.
a very poor analogy.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking about great analogies, like in the news, Reddit is also set to self implode in the near future as CEOs make excellent decisions all the time. I don't know what to say.
It's so bad. It's like such a
On
dumpster
which end?
fire.
On which end is it bad? It's
All
bad
of
all
it.
around.
The whole thing. It's going to explode. The whole thing explodes, not just a part. Um, there's this toot from Key Hingley, which I think is like a perfect way of summing this up. Reddit CEO who claimed to want to emulate Musk is doing an absolutely smashing job. Uh, that's pretty good. That pretty much sums it up. He's pulling an Elon, and it's like kind of somehow worse, which is really interesting. The backlash is, I mean, I guess it was just like for Twitter, we're just like, okay, whatever, we'll move to Mastodon. All right, see ya. With Reddit, there's not really like a big alternative. I think there are some like federated alternatives, but Reddit is just so big, and they're screwing it up so hard. Um, I just think the way that people are protesting is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, to give some examples, our picks just had they were told we need to do as the users want, so they added a poll. And they said, "Do you want this subreddit to be dedicated to posting pictures of John Oliver looking sexy?" And that's exactly what that subreddit is dedicated to. Um, yeah,
Yep. R slash Steam is just posting pictures about water vapor, so that's
and
pretty
it's
awesome.
accurate.
It is
Accurate.
accurate. So
Gibson art is
it's
also John Oliver. What else is there?
there. I think a bunch of them have all kind of gone on the John Oliver train, which is like absolutely hilarious, dude.
He's gonna be
Um,
so happy when he comes back.
I know. I'm sure they're gonna do some awesome segment on Last Week Tonight about it, which will be great.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So some people like as a protest for opening the like on or making the subreddits public again, they mark them as not safe for work, even if they're
Oh,
not,
they got
so
mad
that
about that.
yeah, so that they're age restricted. So they're like removing moderators of those subreddits in sort of retaliation. I mean, it's like there's a pretty good back and forth going on between the company and all the users, which is
I
very
mean, you
interesting to
can't
see.
fire someone you weren't paying at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So like you have chosen to anger a beehive of people that do not use your product for any sort of work, right? It's
yeah,
purely entertainment. And you made yourself the entertainment. So that's what it's going to be. Unfortunately. And yes, some
yeah.
people do end up using uh Reddit for like something actually useful, like getting help from a company. And
Sure.
those subreddits are also like ones that are taking a stance against this. So those people like just searching Google and getting to a post that they can't really ask any questions, like that might hinder them. But for the most part, I think this is just absolutely wonderful that Reddit is kind of like causing themselves to just descend into chaos this way.
Yeah,
It's by their
it's
own, like they made the decision. They were the ones who said the words, and therefore it's happening, right?
yeah, it's they're doom spiraling hard. I think it's so interesting that what set it off was what it was. I don't know. As like app developers, it's like yes, I'm obviously outraged, but like I'm very surprised and like happy that so many people are also like I guess just don't use the Reddit app or whatever, and they're just like, no, we want these apps, and it's just the backlash is so huge. To me, it seems bigger than what was happening on Twitter. So it's cool though.
Yeah.
I hope there's a good
Hackers
resolution.
hackers have got into this as well. So
Yeah,
Reddit is currently being blackmailed for some several millions of dollars, and making their app pricing reasonable, because it seems like those hackers probably are fans of certain apps. I
that's
don't
so
know.
good.
Like they're using the illegality of what they're doing to their benefit in two ways: one, getting to keep the app that they like to use, and two, getting a lot of money. So like, I not here to endorse hacking, but if you are a dick on the internet and you get hacked as a result of that, like when they directly point out why, like they are mad at you, like it's saying something, right? Maybe.
Yeah, they're kind of like playing the Robin Hood card a little bit. I mean, they are taking like a lot of money of it, but it's funny and kind of cool that they're like, "Oh yeah, but also give the give the third party apps back." So
Yeah, let's put it this way: it's bad when we were taking the side of criminals in a situation that
yeah,
should, like, for all intents and purposes, this is bad for Reddit users and people who are
sure,
using this platform, and it could potentially put some people in danger. Definitely acknowledged. However, like I don't know how else to think about this when it's happening right as you were like a little negligent with your wording on the internet. So
yep, yep, indeed. Um, Interesting kind of development in GitHub. The dependency graph, dependent bot alerts, and advisory database now support Swift advisories, and I actually got some. Uh, so that was really cool. I've only got some from when we were still a part of the Lambda School organization for like a year after we left, and I kept getting web related ones. So now I got a couple related to Swift Neo and Vapor. So that was interesting. I'm sure those will be fixed soon. So that's good.
yeah, and in fact, I think those are fixed. It's the projects that are the ones that are like saying, "Hey, this release has a problem, so
Oh,
update." And it detects all the other packages that depend on that. So
mm,
if you have a Swift package that is well used, you can go to GitHub right now and click on the Insights tab, and you can see what other packages are depending on your package, and therefore might like be on the hook if you have any problems in your own thing. So this is really really cool to see coming to Swift, and it kind of rounds out the ecosystem on
hmm
like writing packages and having third party code that's all working together in an open source way. And that's really, really cool, I think.
Yeah.
Talking about things that are working together, Google doesn't work with itself because they constantly kill off everything that you might want to use from them. So
Yeah.
I'm personally waiting because I use Google Voice, though it seems like most
Mm.
companies have killed Google Voice via not accepting those numbers, anyways, because they're like, this is from a non
Mhm.
US phone system, so therefore, like, we're not going to allow text messages to go to it, which I hate because I don't want to give my phone number to every service
Yeah.
under the sun. But I guess I have very little use for my Google Voice number, which has fun numbers. So that's eventually going to get killed. Oh well.
Yeah, no doubt.
But something that they're killing this time around is something that just made a big announcement about having new domain names, which is
I
hilarious.
Ironic. Yes, it's such
So
weird and coincidental timing here. Yep, Google Domains is winding down following a transition period, and Squarespace is taking over the business and assets. So they're just like, oh, .zip and .mov were a bad idea. We're out. See ya.
yeah, and maybe that was like their last like internal pitch. Like, hey, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. We're not gonna like we're driving some profits for the company. And it was such a catastrophe. They just
Yeah.
decided, why? Who started this Google Domains thing? And are getting rid of it.
Yep.
The benefit here is .app top level domains are, I guess, no longer owned by Google. So
That is
that
nice.
is a great improvement and a huge win for Squarespace if that is the case. I'm just speculating here because who knows.
Yeah.
But that was like one very weird thing that all of a sudden Google owns .app domains before .app domains even existed.
Yeah.
This is a great improvement in that regard if this is the case. And I look forward to Google squandering any and all public goodwill that they have for themselves because like they do it time and time again. And this is just the end result.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they're so good at killing things that like I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow killed YouTube. Like that would suck. And YouTube is like the most ubiquitous thing on the resource on the internet, but like it's Google, so it's like not out of the question. I don't know.
Honestly, I think YouTube makes them more money than Google search at this point.
That's probably fair. Just
So
with
if
ad
anything,
revenue.
they're just gonna not have Google search anymore, which, to be honest, it doesn't really work very well anyways. And I forgot who said it on Mastodon, but they were reminiscing about the days when Yahoo had
Mm,
basically a hand curated list of good websites.
yeah.
And maybe that's the future, right? You just have to have an index that's maintained by actual humans. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
And that would be a collection of human knowledge that's easily accessible. I mean, honestly, there's only like we can say that there's an infinite number of websites. Like honestly, there's a
Yeah.
finite number of websites.
Yeah.
And if you have something that you want to be seen, like submit it, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come to. And it's going to be very weird when the EU is going after Yahoo or whatever the new company that's indexing things for not allowing this website on their system
Yeah.
because like they didn't want it. And we're going to go full circle yet again.
Yep.
But honestly, I think that's what we need more than anything right now is a search system that is just hand curated at the top level and then just automate the search from that point forward,
Yeah.
and we'd probably have a much better system.
I will say in the short term, I think I agree with you. But in the short term, I switched to DuckDuckGo like, I don't know, 3 months ago or something. It's been fine. I'm
Hmm.
pretty fine with it, which is surprising. I thought it would be way worse, but there have been a couple times with like coding related questions that I have gone to Google to like it definitely indexes better, but it's not bad. So 99% of the time I've been using DuckDuckGo and it's been good. So and no tracking and all that. So that's nice.
And if you want to go to Google, I think you just do !G, right? And that will kick
Hmm,
off your query as a Google search.
I didn't know
Um,
that. That's cool.
So, quick reminder, DuckDuckGo, you can enable it in Safari just by going to Safari preferences and just changing your default search engine. This works on your phone, your Mac,
Yep.
and you can kind of say goodbye to one more thing that Google will. I mean, honestly, they killed it themselves. Google search has been not
Yeah,
great
it's been
for
bad.
a very long time, filled with ads. So, um, yeah.
Yeah.
That said, if you happen to search for Codable Data Store on Google, uh,
Hey.
you get nothing but the top 10 and only 10 results that are relevant to it. So, A plus on that indexing. Um, but other than that, just go to your other search engines. But Codable Data
Yeah.
Store, one word. If you search exactly that, it's gonna
It's
you're
the
gonna
top
get
result. It's pretty
exactly what you
good.
want. Yep. And there's only 10 other results, so you're not even digging for long. No multiple pages.
Yeah, dude.
Talking about other things that are disappointments, we have some Mac Pro related reviews, and these are not provided by Apple because they are uh, not super great looking for the most part. There's a little bit of a speed advantage over the Mac Studio.
Yeah,
Um,
not surprising.
Probably from
The
just a
cooling.
giant fan that's on it,
Yeah,
or it's just a slightly better binge chip than the other one, or it's just hey, that's the variability between chips. You're gonna get a little bit more performance sometimes and not other times, and
yeah,
you're just kind of rolling the dice for that best one. So who knows if that's just the like the Mac Pro is actually better or if it's just that one specific one. But Max Tech went and kind of compared everything about it, and they note that hey, the PCIe like we thought is all split. You
yeah.
can basically have one full speed 16 lane card, which hey, if you want to put a 100 gig networking card and SSDs, you're gonna max it out,
Totally.
and that's just those two things. Um, which is a completely reasonable thing to want to put in a Mac Pro that takes cards, right?
Sure. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I guess that's an alternative to buying like Thunderbolt enclosures like we have. Just chuck it all in the PCIe slots, and then you're good. It's
It'll be
all
way
in one
faster
system.
because
Yeah,
Thunderbolt is limited to like 2.7 gigabytes per second
yeah,
for data because the video takes ahead, like the this not display link, but the display port signal takes a minimum of 8, and then there's like some overhead that people calculate that I don't know off the top of my head, and then
sure.
you're basically left with 2.7 gigabytes
That's
bidirectional.
fast, but yeah, they're. I mean,
Your SSDs are faster on
the
inside.
SSDs are way faster. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I don't know. It's interesting. I honestly, I'm surprised that Apple released it the way they did. I I don't know. It's just like it feels half baked. Like you already have the Mac Studio. That's a good thing to hold you over. If you really need PCIe cards, just buy an old Mac Pro. I guess I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's way more expensive too. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a head scratcher of a product. I'm sure some people will need it. I feel bad for the extra 3,000 that they're going to spend just for that privilege.
Yep.
Um, Not to mention that they are probably spending many thousands more on the actual cards themselves. But
Yeah.
like I assume those cards travel with them to a new system, right? So it's
Yeah.
like camera lenses. It's a one-time purchase
Hmm.
for the most part. So uh, yeah, interesting. Uh, Something else that's really cool is that the Vision Pro SDK is now available. So thankfully, we didn't record earlier in the week because we kind of lost track of time. And Vision Pro SDK just landed on our laps yesterday. That's really cool.
Yeah. Couple cool things. I haven't tried it out yet. It's downloading right now and it keeps timing out. So I've been having to like restart the downloads over and over again, which has been not
Fun.
fun. Yeah. But Steve Troughton Smith noticed that there's a guest mode in Vision OS and tweeted about it. I'm sure other people found it. So that's cool. And then as a response to that too, someone also said that there's a people tab so you can have like multiple accounts basically like you do on the Apple TV or whatever. So that'd be nice, have your own separate apps. I don't know if you can sign into like different iCloud accounts or whatever, but that's I don't know, for the $3,500, you only have like one. You could potentially have one for the entire household or whatever. So that'd be nice.
Yeah. Um, though if there's just one, then how is everyone going to use them all at once? Um,
Fair
goes the
for
joke.
your
That
creepy FaceTime calls and everything.
Yeah. That said, it doesn't seem like the initial version of the OS supports more than one Vision Pro users, if that
Mm,
makes any
gotcha.
sense. Like, if you're in the room with other Vision Pro users, it's not like you can do anything special
Hmm.
with that. You can interact with them at a distance, so I guess in the same room, it's more or less kind of the same, but it's a little weird because you're going to be hearing them like talk twice and stuff like that. So it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
seem to be like the main use case for now. I can see it in the future when these become less goggle like and more glasses like, that it
Hmm.
becomes something that can interact with folks that are around you. But for this initial like display of technology, it's kind of a single person, you're the only one using it at once kind of thing.
Hmm.
Though, like you mentioned, supports a guest mode so you can hand it over to someone else to try it, because
Right.
hey, free publicity, Apple.
Yep.
If it only works on one face, like no one's gonna like really get an idea for it. But if someone brings it to an office and then everyone tries it, probably two more people are gonna get it.
Yeah.
So that's a smart move on their part. I don't think that the people tab means that you can have multiple users on the one device. Um, like I think it's like your contacts. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, unfortunately, it seems like it's basically a one person device thing.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I stand corrected.
yeah.
Um, what's the yeah, I was trying to look through the docs and my docs aren't, they're being weird. What's the like local network framework? You know what I'm talking about?
Multi
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Anyway,
not remembering
it
it.
it'd be cool to, have multiple headsets or whatever and like have a game board on a coffee table and you're both playing on it or whatever. I don't know.
Hmm.
There could be some definitely fun stuff
Except
when
there's
they.
no game board
Well, yes, I know. That's what I'm
and
saying.
there's no coffee table.
Ah! Yeah, but have a volume that you can
Yeah,
both
multiple
interact
people
with.
can interact with. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. And I'm sure some apps are going to pull it off, right? They're going to be able to kind of figure out some way to do it, even if the Vision Pro does not kind of give much information about the environment to an app.
Hmm.
It is conceivable to kind of triangulate and figure out some stuff that can be interacted with by multiple people,
Yeah.
especially if they're kind of looking at the same scene from the point of view that they're looking at it. You can kind of figure stuff out. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of pans out, and we can all try it out now, because if you have a free Apple developer account, which was previously very limited, it now has access to betas without needing to pay the $99 subscription fee. So Apple basically wants everyone to try out Vision OS
Yeah.
and get a feel for it. I think it was Craig Hockenberry who, I don't know, a decade ago was like, "Come on, Apple, with these NDAs, like let people talk about these new betas and
Yeah.
be more productive." Like Apple's not leaking any company secrets at this point that are like meaningful to keep close. They
Yeah.
are way ahead of, and I think they've learned that. They've learned that they're way ahead of any competition, to the point where they don't need to really hide it anymore, right? They are giving themselves more than 6 months to kind of let people play with this and figure things out, and no one is going to catch up, right?
Yeah. That's nuts
Like
too. I mean,
the foundations on ARKit and Reality Kit, like all of those have been public public for several years now, and hardly anyone is really catching up. So at this point, they just don't care, and I'm really thankful for that.
yeah, it's so interesting the way that they do things because like AR headsets have been or VR headsets have been around for, I don't know, like at least 7 or 8 years at this point. They just swoop in and just like crush everyone. It's like, oh, that's the Apple way. So, maybe slightly limited in this first version, but already it's with the screens and everything, and I'm sure the software as well, uh, already ahead of everyone. So there's like, all right, whatever.
Talking about how that is being done, there is a lot of human interface guidelines that got updated for
Hmm.
Vision OS and the Vision Pro, that I highly recommend you read through. Like, we are still reading through it. It just came out, and that is going to influence how folks are going to use this device, and I think that's going to be. Very important for how you design your apps on the system, so that way they can appear as a cohesive unit, right?
Hmm.
That's the thing that most new platforms need is uh, similar design language and a similar way for folks to interact with it, so that way these new paradigms can start to stick. Right, as soon as you have 10 different ways of doing something like on Apple TV, then all of a sudden no one knows what they're doing anymore, and
Hmm.
it's not like, I think it falls apart at the seams. And I'm not just pointing at you, YouTube, where you have to press play after skipping forward or back 10
Yeah.
seconds, or you get lost when swiping because you want to show recommendations. Like, simple things, come on. To the point where, like, I got so used to doing that on YouTube, and then I was watching the Mario movie through the Apple TV app because I caught it on Movies Anywhere, and I wanted to rewind, so I did rewind, press play, and it wasn't playing, and I'm like, what's the deal here?
And it paused it.
And it paused it because I
Yeah.
was pausing it because of muscle memory.
Yep.
Gosh. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see that Apple is taking their new platform seriously. I remember during the keynote, not the keynote, but one of the presentations, they had a big slide that says, "Hey, close button, top left." Does not go on the top right. I know we put it everywhere on the top right. They didn't say this part on iOS, but it goes on the top left.
Yeah.
So they are very insistent on that,
Yeah.
which they should be,
I
because
think
they
that's
weren't
fine. Yeah.
insistent for years, and now on iOS, like, half the apps, Mail, if you have a tab open, top left. Safari, top right. It's
Yeah.
like no one is talking to each other anymore, and everyone kind of got infected by Windowsisms because the web got infected by Windowsisms, and now we have
Yes.
closed buttons on the top right, which doesn't make sense, at least for an English speaking language, because you progress towards the right and you don't want to progress into a stop sign. You want to go back to close something. Anyways, there's reasons why it's on the top left. Apple did tons of research to put it there, and Windows is like, we want to be different, so we're putting it
Yeah.
there because they don't want to be sued because they stole a lot of NDA stuff. So, fun
Hmm.
fact about how the industry evolves. The top right is wrong. Top left is the way it goes. Anyways, talking about things that are wrong, and I'm just partly kidding here, but just because I don't like Figma. But Figma design resources are available now if you prefer Figma over anything else, to kind of get a head start on designing and mocking up your app. So, all in all, this is an excellent thing, and I'm glad Apple finally did it, considering they've had Photoshop and Sketch templates for years at this point.
Yep.
So good of them to add Figma. I wonder if it's because Adobe now owns Figma. Did they end up owning, or did
I
that
think
get
so.
bought?
No, I think they
Uh,
bought it.
okay, so it's probably for that reason.
What? Yeah. What's interesting is there's also like for the Apple Watch, there's like Adobe XD documents as well on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
they were
I don't know.
experimenting.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't help but think that they'll also add like Sketch and maybe XD documents. I think Sketch is a pretty common.
Sketch has
S-
been there
yeah.
for a very long time. I think most
Yeah.
of the templates are available
Yeah, they
with
are.
Sketch templates.
So
So
surely they'll come out with Sketch ones as well, which would be good.
yeah, I'd like to imagine a lot of folks at Apple prefer Sketch to Figma just because it is a native application that's
I'd
like
assume so.
running and not just like in an emulation layer in a web browser. That's in an emulation layer in an app. Anyways, Figma. Mm,
Yep.
weird thoughts on that.
Yep.
But it's available, and that's great.
Yep. Speaking of WatchOS, there was talks about allowing third-party watch faces in WatchOS 10. It doesn't seem to actually be happening, but there was chatter about it, which would have been, I think, pretty cool. There is a comment on here that, like, I think it got pinned in the. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the top comment says, "I've seen how Garmin third-party watch faces work, and one major issue is always how they drain the battery. My dad, I love him, but man, he's an Android guy and he's got a Samsung whatever watch. And he also has remarked that some watch faces that he downloads like drain battery more, which I don't know what they're doing in the background, but uh, that's a consideration. I'd assume that if Apple were to allow third-party watch faces, it would be better. But I think their argument for not allowing it is maintainability throughout different releases of WatchOS if something breaks. So
I think that's a piss poor
I
argument
agree.
because
I
they
agree.
they need to maintain reliability across the
Didn't
OS releases for apps.
didn't they like
And
just get rid of Carbon completely?
I don't know. I think that this is something that Apple just does not want to do now, despite
That's fair.
having all the tools to do it. Right? They have WidgetKit that can potentially just allow this, like give access to the time and let the time be just have it be a modifier that allows rotation or allows translation, and that all of that can be rendered by Apple, not by an app.
Yep.
It just has to be described by an Apple once, and then we have something that works. So this is something that they can absolutely deliver. It's something that they either chose not to deliver now, which is fine. Though, like, when will they do it? It's not like that's there have
I'm
been huge changes to WatchOS over the years. So, like,
yeah.
come on. But they just want to control what it looks like, and they are controlling it to to the T. That's all I
Yep.
can say.
I mean, it feels very reminiscent of the way that iOS has progressed with no background, then adding widgets, then being able to customize app icons and stuff. Like it'll happen for sure.
Yeah. Uh, and I definitely think like WidgetKit is the answer to this, right? They have the technology stack to be able to pull something like this off,
Yep.
even without the interactivity, right? Yeah, sure, maybe like you can add some interactivity, but even without that, like you have everything that you need to be able to pull something like this off. So, um, yeah. Until then,
Yep.
you can just turn on that setting that basically says stay on the app that you're currently on, and use a third party app that has a watch face like
Yeah.
screen hidden in its depths. And that got around app review because I'm sure app review is not too pleased about apps that have those kinds of screens.
No.
But if such apps do squeak through, then assuming they never need an update, perfect. You too can have something like that. This week's episode of Code Completion is once again brought to you by Bon Voyage. Bon Voyage is a full stack iOS application development course from Johnny B. With this course, you'll learn how to build both a full iOS client app and an associated React web administration application. The app and site will integrate with Firebase as well as Stripe and Plaid for payment processing. Bon Voyage is a place to book extravagant vacations, and you'll gain the skills to build the iOS app from the ground up and integrate everything you need to provide a world-class vacation booking experience. To find out more and sign up for the course, visit bonvoyage.app/course. That's BONVOYAGE.app/COURSE. And be sure to follow Bon Voyage's instructor, Johnny B. Codes, on Twitter to stay up to date with all his courses. Thanks again to Bon Voyage e-commerce app course for sponsoring Code Completion. So, Spencer, I have a code completion tip for you. And this is one I learned very recently on Mastodon. You can use defer in an initializer. And this has the magic property of allowing you to use self for something, like passing it over to another instance, maybe one of your child instances that you just kind of associated. You can just use self in the
That's
initializer.
that's amazing. His example is just using like view model.delegate equals self. That's super cool. I wonder, like, I run into that all the time, and I'm like, do I need to put
Why
it
did it take us
before
so
or
long to
after self in
realize
it?
this?
I know, dude. So yeah, that's definitely gonna go in the toolkit. That's amazing.
Yeah. So defer is like something that you've probably were, oh, that's an excellent thing to use to like close this resource that I was
Yep.
never going to actually use more than once, like working with like core video or file handles or something really obscure. Like defer was the solution to those kinds of problems that
Yeah.
Swift kind of gets rid of for the most part. It's like, yeah, just have a closure and wraps things. Like then you don't need to defer. Or just like automatic reference counting, and then you don't need to defer. So it's like there were very few use cases for a real defer other than like
Yeah.
bridging C code that can explode in your face. And this is absolutely one of them. And I love that the class is just called sorcerer because you feel like a sorcerer
Yeah, that's
when
so
you're
good.
using this. So a plus to that, Blatzy. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. But excellent little
Yeah.
tip, and I'm glad to share it.
The comments are all hilarious, dude. My life is a lie. The exploding head. Where's this hack been all my life? So much I can fix. Like I think everyone's on the same page of like, oh crap, why didn't we think of this? So
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that like UI kit is much better with this knowledge. Not that we do much in UI kit all the time nowadays, but yeah,
yep.
definitely a game changer for sure.
Hmm.
And on this week's mini review corner is back, and this week I have a fun little device to share, and that is this little backpack for a phone, and it's
Nice.
impossible to see on the camera, but this is a Ubiquity device, and this is their WiFiMan Wizard, and their instructions say just squeeze and it pops right out. But it's a little tiny spectrum analyzer for Wi-Fi signals, and it comes with a little silicone little backpack that has MagSafe, so you can attach it to your phone will say this device is unrecognized because they use magnets, but they don't use a little chip that
Mm.
says what it is, which is fine. But it attaches via Bluetooth to the WiFiMan app, which is a free download, and it will allow your phone to kind of figure out what other Wi-Fi SSIDs are around as you move around. So if you're trying to figure out the optimal place to put an access point, or like me, want to lock your access points to certain channels, so that way you can have many in a dense environment and they don't like interfere with one another. This is a great device for that because then you can figure out what channels are most free in the area that you are. So a very cool little device for that in particular. And they have a little Superman of Wi-Fi, probably impossible to see, um, to kind of that's a little logo. It's Wi-Fi man to the rescue. Um, if you don't want to pay $100 to Ubiquity to do this, you can also use the airport utility, which is a long forgotten app that you can download. If you go to system settings, just settings. If you go to settings on the iPhone and you search for airport utility, there's an option to turn on Wi-Fi like scanning, and this allows your iPhone to be a portable Wi-Fi scanner that will give you much of the same information just using the radios that are built into the phone. Only the airport utility app can use this information, which is why Ubiquity had to make a device specifically for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. It does not support 6. Just a note. Um, so you can do this. The UI is atrocious and falling apart at the seams. Like it does not know what corners are on the device
Oh,
bezels,
on the
and like
airport one.
yeah, it's just like not holding up well, but is officially sanctioned by Apple as like, hey, you're in an enterprise environment, you want to figure out how iPhones roam, use this, and that's what their help page lists.
So, follow up question. I have the Wi-Fi Man app because I use the teleport feature when I'm not home.
Hmm.
But does it do more than like the Wi-Fi Man normally the app normally shows? Like it's got like the floor plan mapper, signal throughput latency without the backpack.
Yeah, so you get a new tab in the middle called Scan, and I don't have it hooked up right now, so
Oh,
this is just what
okay.
you're gonna see.
Yep, I don't have
Um,
that.
and that just showed up when I turned it on. I was like, "New device detected nearby," and that will basically give you what your access points will give you in the dashboard, where it
Gotcha.
shows you like, "Hey, these are the spectrum that are around. These are the other SSIDs. These are the channels that are very like have a high signal,
Mhm.
high power output,
Yeah.
and these are the channels that are relatively free." um, so it lets you kind of determine all of that via your phone while you're on the move. The second thing it does is while you're on the move, you're no longer limited by the information that the uh, Unify, like your Dream Machine or whatnot, is reporting back to your phone, because that's what it would do. It would say like, I don't know what the phone signal is right now,
Sure.
but this is the signal that I see, and this is the speed that I'm getting. So that's what I'm going to send back to the phone and have it show.
I see.
This allows the phone to have some actual
Direct.
data that it can go
Uh-huh.
ahead and display that's accurate to that location. So it increases the accuracy of things like the floor plan mapper and stuff like that.
Cool.
But it does not replace them entirely. So it's a different kind of tool, basically for finding optimal channel IDs, channel numbers, and things like that. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. That's really cool.
And I guess one of the reasons why I'm talking about this now and not months ago when I was initially planning my whole setup is because these are finally available, as are most things on Ubiquity Store. So if you have wanted to purchase something and it was just sold out permanently, and you
Yeah.
didn't feel like subscribing to one of those lists that will tell you when things come back for 5 minutes before they sell out again, you can now purchase almost anything that you've wanted to purchase that is more or less modern. So that's why this is suddenly available. They suddenly have them in stock. So I don't know if this means the chip shortage finally finished,
Yeah.
and like we are seeing the benefit of it now. Like all their orders that were placed in the distant future are finally like coming up, and now they have supply because they can do reasonable things again. I don't know what the story is
Yeah.
there, but yeah, if you need it, it's available now. So A plus there.
Very cool.
As always, I want to personally thank everyone for listening in this week. Please be sure to follow us on mastodon.social at code completion to know when new episodes go live. And feel free to toot at us if there's ever a topic you'd like for us to dig into. Most importantly, as a small podcast, please be sure to share this with your friends and family who are also interested in the process of app development. It's your support that enables us to continue doing this, and we hope to grow a healthy community around everything we discuss. Once again, I want to give my thanks to Spencer, who's at Spencer C. Curtis. That's SpencerCurtis for joining me this week. My name, once again, is Dimitri, and you can find me at Dimitri Buñol. That's DimitriBouniol. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.